This is the Building Walls Podcast, episode number 53, recorded September 21st, 2021, School Board Pizza Party.
That's why I made it a priority my entire career to work closely with you. From the time I got to the Senate 180 years ago.
No man has a right to raise a hand to a woman in anger other than in self-defense.
I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years and that I'm going to beat Joe Biden. Look at my record.
Calling this the Chinese virus. There are reports of dozens of incidents of bias against Chinese Americans in this country. Your own aide, Secretary Azar, says he does not use this term. He says ethnicity does not cause the virus.
It's not racist at all, no, not at all. It comes from China.
Take a look at what New York has done in terms of turning the curve down in terms of the number of people dying. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States. And look at the states that are having such a spike in the coronavirus. They're the red states.
Welcome to the Building Walls Podcast, Mr. Dayton.
Yep, I'm here today, live, flesh and blood. Commander Walls, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. Enjoying another lovely day in this great nation. Excited to record another show with you. And
The land
attack
of the
helicopter.
free. Yeah, we've got attack helicopter with us again this week.
As always, right?
How's the heartland? How's Nebraska?
You know, it's cooling off, which is so nice. I've been so thankful that I was able to have last night specifically was able to have the windows open all night. House got down to about 66 degrees. Oh, nothing better. Nothing beats it. Absolutely nothing beats it.
Perfect corn husking weather.
No, I was gonna say perfect attack helicopter weather.
It's
and
nice.
You're able to out there and husk all the corn that you want.
Husk away, my friend.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
So, Chad, I got something this week, man.
Oh.
And I know. I know.
This way. What's going
on? I've already
on?
crossed my arms. I'm already ready to go. And I just want to know, did you see the mayor? I mean, this gives me hope, by the way. I'm just going to preface this with, it gives me a little bit of hope that maybe some people in leadership can actually, I don't know, just process things and see that things aren't good. But did you see this mayor who rolled up to the school board, meeting and basically said, what you're teaching and what I've seen be taught is completely inappropriate, and you have two choices. You can resign, or I'm going to take you up on all these charges. And I've already talked to the judge. What you did is wrong.
Dude,
did you see it?
Have you read any of what was going on? Dude, it is. You can't tell me that this is not child pornography, right? What parent wants their kids to go over assignments about, please describe a sex scene, about a fantasy or whatever that you've had. And then the second page, I want you to describe it as if your mom was in the room or your parents were in the room.
Oh my God.
So,
I can't even. How is that in school?
If you have to describe something as if your parents were in the room, why is there a first page to that?
How is that even a question in school?
Right. What is that teaching our kids?
How to make up lies and cover it up? I don't know. I mean, seriously, even that whole list. Have you ever thought of killing somebody? There was other things on that list. It was insane.
What are we teaching? What are we learning? What is going on?
So thank God the mayor rolls up and just goes, look, you can either resign or you're all being charged with child pornography and breaking the law. And good for him, man. And by the way, did you see all the parents erupt with applause?
Yeah. Thank God.
It's finally, that's what we were talking about. We need to have somebody step up to the plate and just represent our values. When did the values become educating our minors in that way? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's it's incredible that things like that are allowed to occur. And I think things like this are, I don't want to say good. That's not good. That it's good that the mayor stood up, but I think it's good in the sense of it's a bipartisan thing, right? Or it's not a bipartisan thing, right? I know I'm so confused right now. I don't know if I'm using that phrase right, but essentially parents from both sides of the line are coming together, right? It's not about Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives. People on both sides are upset about that. Right?
Yeah. I'm not saying that people aren't going to learn about these things someday, but man, if you're in high school or you're even in middle school or whatever, you've got enough going on. These kids today have it hard. And I mean, every generation thinks they have it hard, but my man, I think that right now, the way things are, it's a little rough. Thank God that I grew up going to high school in the early 90s when there wasn't a cell phone.
Right. And in the winter, when it was snowing, you walked uphill both ways to school.
Barefoot.
Yeah.
That's how we roll.
Oh, man. I still laugh every time an older person says that.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I've waited to get to 44 to be able to say it. I mean, I'm not sure that constitutes being old, and I'm sorry for anyone who is offended that thinks that I'm suggesting that. That's not old. We're
the good news is, if you're offended, keep on listening.
Yeah, because it gets better. I do have a good question for you, though. Dude, so we have a whole segment of our society who has been under attack lately, i.e. the police, defund the police, all the, hey, we have to rethink and reimagine how we're doing policing, right? We've heard that rhetoric for, I don't know, a year and a half now, 2 years. And gosh, well, what if we rethink or reimagine how we do school? How about if the fact that police officers have to be monitored and have to have body cams and record and watch, everybody can see what they're saying and what their interactions are because they're dealing with the public. Can you tell me why there are not cameras in every classroom that a parent can, live stream or hear what has been said to their child? Why? Why has that not happened yet?
Yeah, I mean, in the simplest terms, the police are paid for by public dollars, right? So if your child goes to a public school paid for by your public dollars, what's the difference, right?
Yeah, I don't know, what's the argument from the teacher standpoint of no, I don't want a camera in my classroom. Really? Why? What are you planning on talking about? Are you planning on asking my kid if they've had sexual fantasies?
Right, exactly. That's exactly what they're worried about, right? They're worried about their leftist agenda spilling over and them trying to push this leftist agenda onto kids, right? But the thing is, there's not too many stories of teachers on the left getting fired for that stuff. It's only if you come out and take a stand on the right, that you don't want to push critical race theory. You don't want to push all this Black Lives Matter stuff. Then you get heat.
Well, but see, those are core concepts and, that they're trying to roll out as initiatives. But I want to hear, what are you saying specifically? Why am I not allowed to hear what is being said? I feel like if I wanted to show up at the classroom and sit in the back of the room, I should be allowed to do that. I'm paying to be there. So why can I not do that?
What about the parents who we all know, some of those parents that do not deserve to be in there because they will create utter chaos?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That right. Makes the argument for, well, we could all show up and sit in the back, or maybe we just live stream it and you can be held accountable for what is being taught.
There's so many, and I'm in no way, case or point, defending the opposite point, but I think it's some of those parents, right? We all know people like this. I coached football, high school football, for a year, and I remember a parent catching me after the game, and they're like, "Hey, why didn't so and so get playing time this week?" I go, "Well, hey, did you talk to your son about his practice routine and his work ethic and him getting involved in practice? No. Well, that's why he didn't play. He doesn't get involved. When people are asked to get involved, he's not the one who does it. He doesn't act like he's excited. He doesn't do his assignments right. So that's why your son didn't play much in the game. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, why don't you have a chat with your son? Have a good night. Like, if you can't chat with your kid about what's going on, and anything that I just said in plain English didn't make sense, you play to win the game. I feel like that was a rant by some coach, right? But you play to win the game. So if you're not going to work hard,
Right.
if you're not going to do the right things, if you're not going to volunteer, why should you play more, right? But there's parents out there who think that their kids, right, lay golden eggs. And just because they're their kid, they should play. Well, back in my day, my high school team was 9-0, and we went to the state playoffs, and we got a championship ring. Like, okay, great. Are you strapping up to go play?
Yeah.
Right? Parents are whack like that.
Chill down, Al Bundy. I know you got your 4 touchdowns. Or what's the dude from Napoleon Dynamite? Coach would put
Uncle
me
Rico.
in. Uncle Rico. Bet I could throw this football over the mountains over there.
Yeah.
If the coach would just put me in, we probably won states. Those people hold on to that. But I get it. I get where you're coming from. The whole idea that there's crazy parents, but even more reason that we should record it so we can see their kid. And then I'll tell you what, if my kid knows that it's being live streamed and I'm going to be able to see what they're doing, I feel like there's a level of parental influence there that is going to help with the discipline part. You better behave yourself. You're going to behave yourself and show respect for that teacher. But that teacher will earn that respect by being held accountable to the curriculum that we are putting forth in a public school district.
Right. And better yet, kind of like the cop and the police cams, right? How about if it's not even live streamed, if it's just recorded? That way, when there is discrepancies or the parents do want to watch it.
Yeah. And they can go back.
What's teaching your kids?
I just feel like that's kind of like splitting hairs. Like, okay, whether it's live streamed or recorded, it, most likely would be saved somewhere.
I'm just trying to level that, you're not going to have a live stream on Twitch of body cam from a police officer.
That's true. Unless you're watching the show Cops, which is coming back to Fox Nation, baby.
Is it really?
Yeah, they're bringing it back, man. They've had enough with the defund the police. We need to get people back to understand what happens when you talk back to police officers. Duh.
Bad boys. What you gonna
do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Dude, that's a good segue. I guess
so
what they're gonna do when they come for the rant. One of the things that I love about the Building Walls podcast is we just tee it up. We've got a rant each week. We alternate turns. And my man, this week is all you.
The first thing we're gonna talk about is I will once again do the beer promo. It's not a beer. It's a seltzer. You know how much everyone loves seltzers. So if you haven't had these already, I don't think I would recommend them. It's a Bud Light seltzer, the Fall Flannel edition. This flavor is pumpkin spice. It came in a variety pack with apple crisp, which was the only semi-normal tasting flavor. Then you had maple pear and toasted marshmallow.
That sounds disgusting.
So they smell pretty spot on, and they taste like they smell, so that's a good thing. But to drink more than a half a can or a full can, I mean, I love fall, and I love pumpkin spice, but I'm not that basic. With that said.
Well, I think we can all agree then that the Bud Light seltzer does not pass the test.
The Bud Light seltzer Fall Flannel edition.
Terrible. And there you go. So
yeah,
take it
what
away.
I need to rant about is, a lot of people out there, they love to stand on the moral high ground, right? And they love to care about others when it affects them, which doesn't make sense. But why do people only pretend to care about others when it comes to wearing masks, right? Like you said the other week, if you're wearing, or if you get vaccinated and you're wearing a mask to protect yourself and you're protected, why does it matter what anyone else does, right? You don't care about others all that much, do you? When's the last time you gave $1 to the homeless guy standing on the street corner, right? How many times which this is totally based off of the picture you posted on Facebook, how many times do we see people driving slow in the fast lane, right? How much do you care about others? Because you don't give a crap about anybody else but yourself when you're going 60 in a 70 zone in the fast lane, right? What about when someone's walking in the store behind you? Do you hold open the door? I mean, I hope you do, right? But how much do you really care about others? And how come when it comes to COVID and mask and a vaccine, you care about others, right? I just don't get it. How come when your neighbor down the street is maybe struggling to pay their mortgage, right, and you have a conversation, you never ask to help, right? Or do you? I hope you do. If you're going to complain so much, I almost started cussing there for a second. But if you're going to complain so much, why the heck do you care about whether or not they wear a mask? But, I mean, there's COVID here. So if I'm going to be vaccinated, you need to be vaccinated because don't you care about others, right? You don't want to get others sick. Well, it's a good thing everyone has access to the COVID vaccine, right? It's a good thing everyone has access to their own masks, which if we're mandated to wear them, they're supposed to protect everyone, right? Or else why are we mandated to wear them? So how much do we actually care about others if we're going to sit there and proclaim that we do? And I'm talking about the people who proclaim this stuff, right? I got a better question for you. How much does the government care about you? Right? All they want to do is increase your taxes, take away more of your money. They want to let in illegal immigrants who don't have to wear masks, who don't have to get a vaccine, right? So how much do they care about you? So for once, we need people to take a step back, right? And actually think about your values, right? Think about these foundations that you build your life upon, right? So I think one that gets me every time, and I'll end it with this, is how much do people care about others when you walk into a public restroom? How often is that thing in tip-top shape, right? Yet you see someone come out and just blow it up. And you're like, are you serious? You can't even take care of yourself, but you want me to be vaccinated? That's a very loose adaptation of a personal story that I'm sharing without giving away too many of the details.
I apologize for your bathroom, man. I'm sorry.
Got to be kidding me. You're going to be like, oh, are you vaccinated? Are you wearing a mask? But you're going to go into the bathroom and just destroy it and make someone clean up after you. So if you're going to care so much about people being vaccinated and wearing the mask, why don't you care about yourself first? Need a deep breath now.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. I do have, it's so funny how people react to those things. And I think we've gotten to a place in the society, in communities that, you're right. Like, why do we only care about this, and the masks and COVID? Like, why are we pretending like it's okay to go eat, tons of fast food and be unhealthy? We have all these other things that are so massively wrong. And yet it's called freedom. People have the freedom of choice. And I stand by it. I just feel like we're moving through a type of government change to more of a patriarchal monarchy type system where there's people who are going to tell us how it should be. And if people don't wake up pretty quickly, I think they're going to find out that having an authority, quote unquote, dictate every aspect of your life, well, that could go badly. that can be rough.
So I have a question for you, Chris.
Sure.
I heard somebody say the other day, they were getting a little riled up. They're like, why do you care so much? It wasn't just talking to me, but like, why does it matter if they want us to wear masks and be vaccinated? Just shut up and do it, right? Because it's the government. They're going to do what they want anyway. But stop complaining about it. Just do it. And I looked at him. I go, because the government doesn't run my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we make the rules. The government is not this long-time authoritarian that is infallible and can't ever be changed. I mean, for God's sakes, at the beginning of the country, slavery was legal. It was legal to have a slave. That's insane by today's standards. You know, because we talk about freedom and we go through all these things. We've gotten a lot of human rights and civil liberties, but I don't understand why people seem to think that it's perfect. It's not perfect. It's messy. And we just got to go through, the process of doing the best that we can and trying to be as fair as possible. But the minority groups of everything are loud and they have a right to be heard. We need to be able to listen to them. We need to be able to find common ground. But, hey, who am I? I'm just some guy in Detroit, Michigan.
On the Building Walls podcast.
Has a podcast that's nationally syndicated, but whatever. Hey.
Nationally syndicated.
Hey, everybody's got a podcast, but do you have an attack helicopter? I don't think so.
Right. I mean, I would go pound for pound with Mr. Producer versus anyone out there.
Yeah, I'll take attack helicopter all day. Right?
I agree.
Do you want to know why, too? I'll tell you why. Dude is a stud. Not only has made our show 1,000 times better, but he's like literally undefeated in DraftKings. He's 2-0 against a whole slew of guys that knows, apparently he knows like all the insight on who's going to play well this week and has crushed us back-to-back weeks in DraftKings.
It's just picking numbers.
Talk about a wholesome story. That's a wholesome story right there.
That DraftKings hero.
Hey, you know what? It's been fun though. Like it's been neat. Like I haven't actually admittedly watched a single game this season, so maybe that just makes it totally worse.
I'm so offended right now. I'm so offended.
Trigger warning.
Especially because I literally had you in my sights last night. I went from, we have 8 guys.
You never had him in your sights. He was up by over 90 points.
No, he was up by 120.
Over 90 points?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for people who care about, adding an extra 33% to that, it's 120. So
I don't care about
I know you
stats,
don't.
just like I don't care about mask mandates.
And you don't care about Biden and his tax rules. Okay. Because he's just moving percentages around too. Anyway, the whole point of it is I was closing in because Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones lit it up against my Detroit Lions last night. And, anybody could have seen that coming. In fact, one of our friends, Marks, called me on the phone and he was like, dude, you're unbelievable. You literally sandbag and wait until the last game, Monday night, and you've got 3 players going. And too bad, the Lions didn't utilize their guy, Jamal Williams, but whatever.
Can we give you a virtual pat on the back right now?
For what? For me?
Yeah, I just feel you're over there doing a nice humble brag. I just want to
I'm
give
telling
yourself
everybody,
a virtual pat on the back.
I'm telling everybody that I had the fort. Dude, it's not a humble brag, and nobody's a genius to figure out that the Lions suck ass so bad that they can't even.
Whoa! Trigger warning,
dude. You want to rant? I'll rant right now. I'm just kidding. Same old Lions. I don't care what you say, Coach. Same old Lions.
SOL.
Because I heard Coach Campbell, somebody said same old Lions to him, and he got mad, apparently, and was like, don't bring that crap around here. Well, you know what, Coach? I'll tell you what, Coach. I know you want to bite kneecaps and do all that stuff and be fired up, but the rest of the fan base, it's same old Lions until we say that it's not the same old Lions. And you're the one who can control when that happens. So start winning some damn games.
I love it. He's got quarterback. So he downgraded in the quarterback position, but I think Jared Goff's got enough, right? They don't even have anyone who, I mean, this might be the worst Lions receiving core that I've seen in my lifetime.
Bite your tongue. Cephas is great.
The only worst team might have been when Bryant Westbrook, I think his name was the number one. Those are some tough years of Lions football. Then the 0-16 teams, right?
Yeah.
But this team is rough. They got a defensive line, and that's about it.
Yeah,
they're starting cornerbacks down, and he sucks anyway.
They don't have any linebackers.
Yeah, and
Aaron Jones proved that last night.
Yeah, right.
4 touchdowns.
So to roll into our true wholesome story,
yeah,
there was a chimp that ordered pizza
in Russia.
Yeah, in Russia, no less. Let's see the video here.
Look at this thing.
Could you imagine opening the door?
Literally bringing in the pizza.
First off, what kind of pizza box is that? Russia's like their next level. That pizza box is great.
Dude, look at that thing. The chip hands him the cash and then takes the pizza and
fully
goes back
dressed.
inside.
Fully dressed.
Oh, man.
Had a varsity jacket on. That's fantastic.
Dude, that is legendary right there. I want to know what was on the pizza. Is that pepperoni? Or is that dude actually ordering up some crazy stuff like, banana peppers?
Maybe it's a Hawaiian.
What if he's got like
belong on pizza?
Yes, it does. But what if it's like banana and peanut butter?
Yeah, what if it was banana and peanut butter pizza?
That sounds great.
It does. It actually is really good.
So what kind of sauce? Is peanut butter the sauce? Like the spread?
Yeah, use peanut butter as the sauce, or maybe a jelly as the sauce even. You could use a jelly as a sauce. That's a really good idea. Could you imagine that? Jelly as a sauce, use almost maybe peanuts and bananas instead.
So now, would that be considered more of a fruit pizza?
I mean, dude, there's people who argue about putting pineapple and on a pizza, the pineapple Hawaiian thing. I can't do it, man. I love pineapple. I love cheese. I love tomato sauce. I love ham. I love all the ingredients. I just don't like them together.
See, I like a Hawaiian pizza.
Dude, I can't do it.
Chad, I think
Mr. Producer here.
I think you just lost a co-host there, honestly, with that one.
That's what makes it great. We can agree to disagree.
No, that's not how this works. This is it. I'm going to be the left today. You are anti-pizza. You are discriminating against pizza, and you are trying to make something. You're like making a freak show. You're not allowed to do that.
Whoa. I'm taking the left's point, too. Are you racist against Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, people who were born on the islands? Do you have anything against people who love exotic fruits like that? Hawaiian pizza? Are you serious right now? How do you not like Hawaiian pizza? How racist could you be? They're just Pacific Islanders. They're from Hawaii. It's part of the U.S.
I'm not even making you a pizza. It's my right not to have to make that pizza for you. I don't care what you say or whatever. I hate this. I don't like it anymore. I'm getting my ass handed to me.
You owe me $100.
I do.
You know what? That would be not as funny, but it's true, right? This is that
I owe you $100.
No. That's how they argue, right? It's something that it doesn't even have to make sense. They just argue with you because for some reason at one point in their life, I guess maybe I shouldn't say that. They were treated inappropriately at any given moment. And how dare them, because they live in America, they live on this earth. How dare anyone accost them, right? Because sticks and stones may break my bones, and words will definitely hurt me. That's their slogan.
Words have power, man. Right?
And it's crazy because this stuff is so wild that, it gets down to a point that now there's, government workers and military and government-funded contractors are required to get the vaccination. So let's say if they're going to fix those damn roads, like Gretchen Whitmer said, and they get that contract from the government, right? Well, this is federal mainly, that their workers have to be vaccinated.
Yeah, and I mean they're funded by, taxes. That's what's interesting about this is now it kind of goes full circle back to, the public school argument is that these are our tax dollars, and there should be some accountability to our tax dollars and how they're spent and where they're distributed, right? I mean, I could make the argument all day that we're a country that's in debt, trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. And by the way, I think the last time, hey, attack helicopter, can you look up how much we're in debt? I think it's like 23 trillion is the United States debt load right now. But it's in that range. So we have all this debt. So should we be collecting taxes and then sending that money to foreign countries?
For gender studies?
For gender studies, for whatever. Should we be sending it to any foreign country when we have that much debt? Unless it's to pay off the debt. And then if you have, debt of that nature, and you're collecting taxes, and we're going to distribute it out to people who are on, welfare or Medicaid, when does that stop? Do we force the vaccine on those people too? Is that where this is going? Like, where does it end?
Yeah, so let me interject there. To your point exactly, where does it end, right? If they care so much about people, and this vaccine is supposed to be, the saving grace, why wouldn't you force people on Medicaid to get the vaccine, right? Because wouldn't you want them to not go in the hospital? Wouldn't you want them to not, have to pay out that money for them because they got COVID and are now in the hospital? Because those are government-funded taxpayer dollars too.
Let me ask you something. I know we talked earlier in the week, and I said something I think maybe even surprised you, but we were talking about the vaccine and just it in general. And I said I'm not opposed to getting the vaccine.
Right.
And it's somebody who, if they get the vaccine, if they want the vaccine, I think they should be able to go get it. I really do. I think one of the things that is interesting, though, is the shift in the tonality of what's happened, because it almost seems like the freedom, the people fighting for freedom, and like, hey, you're taking away my choice, and I don't like the mandates, and I don't want to take the vaccine because I'm afraid or I'm not confident in its ability to do what it says it's going to do, or it's borderline. They feel like there's something nefarious about it. But I remember the previous administration, the Trump administration, is the one who streamlined this, the one who made it even happen. Normally, vaccines take years and years and years. But one of the highlights that Trump did was bring the business and the science communities together to fast track this and leverage all the resources and the assets of the federal government and of the private sector to get this vaccine so that we could get back to our lives as normal. So what happened other than 81 million people allegedly voted for Biden and a new administration came in? Why all of a sudden the shift? It was almost backwards. Like before the election, even Kamala Harris was like, I don't trust the vaccine, not if it's from Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's a Donald Trump vaccine. I'm not taking that.
Right? If she flat out said that. I mean, that's an audio clip. Just Google it. And here we are now. Everybody's like, take the vaccine. You need it. And there's people who are like, I'm not really comfortable. Now, we can talk about the science all day of like herd immunity and whether natural immunity plays a factor into this or how it creates variants. And, we could go round and round on that. At the end of the day, I truly believe this is just something that's part of our world now. and you can't put your life on hold. We can't stop everybody from doing this, or living their lives. So where do we go from here? But where did the shift come from, man? I don't get it. And this question about like who decides who's getting vaccinated and what's mandatory, there's going to be a big fallout, dude. I mean, look at what is happening with these companies and organizations who are dictating and mandating this vaccine. They're losing. It's about 25 to 33% of their workforce are like, hey, we're not going to do this. And that might not seem a lot. Like, obviously, the majority of people are for and have gotten vaccinated, right? But you can't lose 25% of your workforce.
I mean, apparently they're okay with it.
I mean, and how is that helping? Like, hospitals are going to lose all these nurses and people who don't want to get the vaccine. Well, how does that help people who have diabetes and cardiac problems and, other issues?
What gets me with all this stuff is, to what you were saying, Chris, is that once Trump's in office, right, or when he was in office, and everyone on the left's like, I'm not taking it. I would never take a vaccine if Donald Trump created it. Well, it's the same vaccine, and now you're pushing it. So their only play, and this is what I think me and you agree on, especially when it comes to government, right, is how obvious is it that things like this are just a government ploy? It had nothing to do with hating the vaccine or liking the vaccine. It had to do with who was in the seat of power, right? And now that they're in the seat of power, they have to have the moral high ground here, right? Of, well, we want everyone to be safe. We don't want anyone to die from this. Because imagine being the president, right, of the United States and saying, no, vaccine's bad. You don't need the vaccine, right? And then having people die. So yeah. A lot of this it's really political, where, me and you agreed on the fact that I'm not opposed to the vaccine whatsoever. I don't have any qualms about not taking the vaccine, or about taking it rather. So me and you are both on the same road with that. Of it doesn't matter either way. It just gets me that so much of this is so overly politicized, and there's a good majority of people who, don't be a sheep. Don't just follow the crowd, right? The government is not here to help you in any way. The government is there to help themselves. And if what they're saying may help you, that's just an added benefit. But they're not doing it because they want to do it. They're doing it because they would rather do that than face the fallout of the repercussions, right?
Well, you're seeing that all throughout the country right now with the Democrats who are in power, the constant attacks from all angles, because they're mismanaging every situation, from Afghanistan, which, I mean, when is that going to come to light? Is that just passed by now? We're just going to wait until there's a terrorist attack, and then that'll be highlighted again, the fact that that was a complete bungled operation, and who knows how many Americans are still there.
People are they even talking about Afghanistan anymore?
No. Why? Why would they talk about that? That's over and done with. We're on to next thing. But by the way, now we're talking about like the vaccine and all this other stuff and who's going to get it. And back to the whole public school thing, and kids wearing masks. And now Pfizer came out and said that they are going to be approving the vaccine for up to for kids. Yeah, I think it's like age 5 to 11 now. It's safe for the vaccine. But, Chad, just think about that. Like, okay, yeah, we're going to go get a vaccine. We're going to add another vaccine. Do we know how it interacts with other vaccines, like the mumps, measles, rubella vaccine? Does it interact with any a tetanus shot or any other shots that kids typically take, as they're maturing and growing and helping? Like, how is this vaccine going to help them? When it doesn't, they're not dying. More kids died. More kids got shot in Chicago than have died from COVID. Think about that.
But get vaccinated.
More kids this year have been shot in Chicago than have died from COVID-19.
Aren't guns illegal in Chicago, by the way?
Yeah, don't get me started. Yeah. Hey, Mayor
Is that
Lightfoot.
a topic for another day, maybe?
Mayor
Just
Lightfoot.
a quick little plug.
Oh, yeah. She's now all for funding the police and like, oh, yeah. Whoa, geez. Oh, my gosh. Aren't you up for re-election? What a shocker. Let's talk about safety again after you've run the city into the ground and let criminals run rampant. It's like chaos. You're reverting back to the wild, wild west. You talk about being progressive and civilized, and yet you've created anarchy and chaos and destruction.
Talking about shockers, the Wichita State Shockers. I'm going to add another good-hearted moment on this show. Coach Ted Lasso, the Wichita State Shockers. You're a big fan of that show, aren't you?
Dude, I love that show.
If you haven't seen that show, I highly recommend people watch it. Have you seen it, Mr. Producer?
We lost Matt. He's gone.
Uh-oh.
There we go. I fixed it.
He's like, oh my God. I didn't expect him to call on me.
No, I have not seen the show, but I have heard about it. It is.
Yeah,
I have Apple TV. I don't know why. I haven't sat down to watch anything on Apple TV Plus yet. I need to do that.
More people need to watch shows like Ted Lasso, right? Just a feel-good show all throughout.
We need a little bit more Ted Lasso in our lives.
And Roy Kent.
I love Roy Kent. He's my favorite character in the whole show.
He's here. He's there.
He's every... Oh, man, I can't say that on our show. He's everywhere. You wanker. Hey, how about Jamie Tart? Jamie Tart, Jamie Tart, it's catchy, isn't it?
Yeah, I just can't believe we took What a Shocker and turned that into Ted Lasso.
Dude, what a great show. I mean, all around, congrats to them. They won a bunch of Emmys.
That's awesome.
Hey, do you even know what Emmys are? Does anybody even know what an Emmy is?
So it was on when I was flipping through channels the other day. And I stopped and watched it, and I'm thinking to myself, what am I watching? Like, one, I don't even know what the Emmys are anymore because I couldn't care less. And I am so disinterested because I know that every time one of these shows comes on, I already know what the topics of conversation are going to be, right? Let's all help to end racism. Good luck. Right?
Yeah.
Prejudice happens everywhere, right? If you go to a different country
Every day, all day,
and they know that you're American, people will be prejudiced against you, whether good or bad.
Haters gonna hate,
right? Because groups of people always flock together. That's what makes humans, right? That's why there's cliques in school, right? If you play football or sports, you're not going to hang out with the people who don't. Why? Because you don't have common interests, right? Your interest with the people you hang out with is playing football. So you're probably going to hang out with those people. Not that you can't have other interests, but that's what joins people together, right? That's where prejudice comes from. So at some point, right, racism is never going to end.
Hot route.
John, just go stay on the other side.
It's all state. I can put the ball anywhere I want.
But, speaking of crazy stuff like this where people get separated on different points, right? Which it's okay to not have common interests like everyone else, right? But here's a hot topic for you, right? Canceling student debt. There's a Facebook post from whoever the other day, Ayanna Pressley, who I think is a transgender person, maybe. Again, I couldn't care less. So student debt is approaching $2 trillion. $2 trillion.
Yep.
In case you're wondering, that's it's a 2 with 12 zeros behind it, right?
Wow.
What are your thoughts about canceling student debt? Should we cancel student debt?
Yeah, absolutely. We should. And everybody who went to college during the same time frame should get a stipend for the amount that they paid for school. So it's not just
whoa.
Hey,
That's not fair, Chris.
Oh, that is fair. That is exactly fair. That's the only way it can happen. So if you want the $2 trillion to be gone, it's not really $2 trillion. It's more like 200 trillion.
Right. And to your point, exactly, making such a lavish, outlandish statement is that it's not possible, right? You can't just cancel student debt because you decide that enough's enough, right? For what you were saying earlier, if you're going to cancel student debt, why don't you stop paying millions of dollars to Pakistan for gender studies? Why don't you stop paying millions and trillions of dollars to other countries for stuff, period? Right? Imagine. So the way our government acts is I have a mortgage on my house, right? And 1 month, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to pay my mortgage this month. There's a really good cause that I want to put my money into. I want to give my mortgage payment to kids and people building wells in Africa. Because I think that that's a more important cause than paying my mortgage. Well, good luck when you get the letter from your mortgage lender saying that it's time to move out, right? So not in any part of the country, of the world, is it possible to be in debt and continue to spend and spend and spend and raise that debt, right? And give money away to other causes just because you want to.
Well,
right?
And it's important in your analogy to understand what the mortgage is. The mortgage is the company or the bank, in this case, a group of people who got together and they have money and they lent it to you because you wanted to buy a house. So you went to them and you said, hey, I'm good for it. I would like to buy this house. And based on my job and my ability to repay this loan, the bank is going to lump sum that cash up front to the seller of that home so that the seller will transfer the deed to you. And you own it. You own that property. But you didn't buy it with your money. You bought it with someone else's money. The bank. The bank is the person who brought the money when the transfer happened, when the sale happened. And the bank decided to do that because you said you would pay it back. And at the time, you had the ability to pay it back. Now, there's lots of situations where maybe you lose a job or, something happens where you can't pay it back. But that's not what we're talking about, Chad. We're talking about, I don't want to pay it back.
I thought you were going to say practice for a second.
No, we're talking about practice, man. Not a game. Not the
that
game
rant
that I
never
love.
gets old.
We're talking about practice. So that's the thing, man. We're talking about, I just want. And that's what I really think is a lot of our problem right now is that people are like, well, I just want to do this. It doesn't matter what you want. You signed up for this. You're the one that took out the money. You're the one that signed your name to it. You borrowed that money. Nobody made you borrow that money. Nobody's forcing this on you.
You're the one who took classes to earn your liberal arts degree that does absolutely nothing for you, right? What is the point of getting higher education to not hire your education?
Well, if you don't have the money, if it's not an investment for you, you can go get that liberal arts degree.
Right.
If you've got $400,000 laying around and you got time to burn, you can just go live off your land. You pay your bill. You choose what you want to do and go for it. But if the kid that wants to get, an engineering degree, maybe they get accepted to, U of M and they go get an engineering degree, a company will pay you for that. So if you borrowed the money in order to get that degree so that you can go have a career, well, good for you. But why should the rest of us pay for that?
Yeah, stop making excuses and don't get upset for your poor choices in life, right?
Yeah.
Instead, pull your pants up and go out there and get to work and change it. Make it better. Take some personal responsibility, right? No one asked you to go out and get a liberal arts degree. No one asked you to get a degree in Ethiopian gender studies, right? No one asked you to go out there and study something that doesn't do anything for you. And to your point, if you got plenty of money in the world and you want to go learn something else, that's what you're passionate about, and you feel that that's going to make a difference in the world, then learn that and go make a difference. But don't complain about your poor choices in life, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the world is not responsible for your choices. You are.
No one cares about you.
Wow. That escalated quickly. Well, and speaking of that, I mean, you talk about not caring or even like being held responsible. You hear about that doctor in Texas who's just like, you know what? F it. I don't care what you guys say about that abortion law. I'm gonna continue to perform an abortion after that law went into place. It was on September 1st that law went in. He did it on September 6th. What do you think? He just doesn't care?
That it's interesting that the same people, because he's obviously a leftist, I would assume, based on the choices that he makes in life. I don't think someone conservative who probably doesn't agree with abortions is going to go out and break the law to commit abortions, or I don't know if that's the right phrase, commit abortions, to perform abortions. So if laws and rules and mandates are so important to you, are you the kind of person that also gets upset when someone's not wearing a mask where it's mandated, right? Because that's what I told you. This is, the Democrats, if they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards, right? It's always a double standard when it fits their agenda, when it fits whatever they want it to fit.
Well, he said, and if you pull this up, it was an article on NPR that had this in place. And what happened basically is he just decided he's going to do it because he felt it was his obligation to provide those services. It's his honor to do that. That's kind of interesting. I mean, it was an interesting choice of words that it's his obligation, as a duty almost. So that overrides the law. Well, it's my duty to stand up for freedom. It's my duty to stand up for free choice, free speech. It's my duty to stand up for those who can't speak for themselves, i.e., that baby. Now, in this case, what's interesting is they don't even specifically state what the situation was. When we did this show, we did the show on this law here a couple weeks ago. I think that was episode 51 that we talked about the Texas abortion law, right? And we talked about that it's not complicated, or it is complicated. It's not cut and dry. There are situations that are horrific that people need to deal with. But this one in this article conveniently doesn't lay out, was the mother's life at risk?
But we know it wasn't.
No, actually we don't, because it doesn't.
Well, they would have pointed it. They would have pointed it out.
It seems like they would have, but and that's what I kind of wish was this woman raped? Is it one of the situations where there was incest, or what's the scenario here? And but they don't say, and so we're left to speculate, and we're left to reasonably conclude that this guy just wants to do whatever he wants to do. It's the same pattern over and over again. Immaturity, and just deciding, I don't care. I'm going to go do it anyway.
You should have your license pulled, right?
Well, that blatant disregard for the state that you're performing a medical procedure in should absolutely result in massive fines, imprisonment. He's clearly reckless and a danger to society, so he needs to be gone.
I agree.
Yep,
wholeheartedly. Right, because if you're going to sit there and want people to abide by mandates, right, that aren't even constitutional. But then you look at something like this and it gets celebrated, right, by people on the left.
Right.
I mean, who are you, right? Does law actually matter to you, or does it only matter when you agree with it, right? Laws weren't made for you to agree with them, right? The Bill of Rights wasn't made for you to agree or disagree with them. The Bill of Rights was made because those are inalienable rights that every person deserves, right? It's not just whenever it fits your agenda, right? Freedom of speech is freedom of speech. Right to bear arms is the right to bear arms.
Well, when is it? Here's one of the interesting topics: is when does the speech become, free speech when it's falsified? Well, now we're not even talking about, real news, but we're talking about fake news, as we like to say.
Fake news.
Fake news. Hey, there's a new investigation around town, but you probably haven't heard about it. Right, Chad? Have you heard about this? Nobody's heard about this. But it's the old indictments that are coming down from the Durham investigation. But nobody's talking about it. Nobody's got anything to say except for fake news.
Right? And we're probably going to talk about this a little more once more comes out. If more comes out. But this Durham investigation is super interesting. Start Googling, searching the interwebs, the dark web, about what's going on out there. And knowing that it's been proven that the FBI knew there wasn't collusion, knew the Steele dossier was fake, knew months into all of this, right, as it was still going on, that there was no reason for any of this to be going on, right? And ruined and slandered good people's names for no reason.
No, it was not for no reason. That's where I'm going to humbly disagree with you. It was for a very big reason. And that reason was to hide all their crap. Because there was one guy who showed up who said something like, oh, how did it go? Drain the swamp? Yeah. The swamp creatures didn't like that a whole lot. They decided, we're not going to let that happen. Oh, my God. Make something up, rig the system, do whatever, get him gone. Otherwise, our whole empire is going to fall apart. And that's exactly what's going on right now. What a mess. So stay tuned on that one, right?
I sure hope there's some good stuff coming down the wire about that, and some good reporting being done about whatever's going on with that. I mean, just the fact that the FBI and everyone in that in the government or in security, whatever you want to call it, knew that Steele dossier was fake and it was all a ploy. There was nothing good to it. Just continued to perpetuate the issue and to let it go and go and go and go.
Do you want Trump to run in 2024? That's a pointed question.
Man, I don't see.
Given that, like where that's at and what we've seen and the chaos and just the absolute total mismanagement of our country right now.
Here's the thing. Everyone's life was better when Trump was president.
Was it though?
It was.
Why do you believe that?
When people have the freedom of opportunity, when people have the freedom to enjoy their life because of that freedom of opportunity, and the freedom to, they don't have to be stuck in a job or stuck in a career because there's not a lot of economic growth out there. When people have that freedom to move about their lives as they choose, when there's less taxes being taken out of their pocket, life is better for everyone.
And you think Trump makes it that way?
I mean, it sure seemed like that since how I recall when Trump became president, and all of a sudden I started taking home more money in my paycheck, right? Economic was booming. People were hiring at a vast rate. Automotive jobs were coming back to the U.S., which was unprecedented, which are now being moved back to Mexico and other countries.
Yep.
I mean, it was real. Those things happened, right?
I've got a controversial statement. I don't know if I want to say it. I don't want Trump. I don't.
I never said I wanted Trump, by the way.
I don't want him in 2024. I think he did what he was going to do. I thought he has opened the door and hopefully enlightened a lot of the country. And, you know, people say he was divisive. Well, I don't know if it was him being divisive as much as him just putting a spotlight on the fact that we're divided as a country. He's not the one dividing us. It's a difference of opinion on, do we want a parental role of government or do we want our freedom? Do we want individuality and freedom? But I think it's time for him to, you know, just go down in history as, you know, a great president, somebody who did a lot of great things. But, you know, there's a lot that, who knows, I think he had a hard time stepping in, being a non-politician. And if we're going to transition, if we're going to go through an evolution of our government, I think it's time for somebody who maybe thinks in line with the policies of Trump and the freedom. And we need somebody who can step up and truly connect and communicate that the American dream is still alive and still available for everybody, to the point that people actually take action on it and they actually start believing that they can have a better life and, more importantly, having a better life. And I don't think Trump's the guy to do it.
Yeah, Trump didn't with the mean tweets, and, you know, mainstream media doesn't help Trump's case either. And Trump doesn't help his case with the mainstream media. Because when they start going at him, he's an entertainer. What does he do? He goes right back to him. Right? And I think some of the most important quotes that we've heard, right? I always think about freedom and the founding fathers and what they wanted. And what was the quote from Benjamin Franklin? It was, when you give up freedom for safety,
you get
what
neither.
Was that quote?
You get neither. You deserve neither.
But the better one, I think, is, I believe it was Patrick Henry, right?
I
give
know where
me
you're going.
liberty or give me death.
Yep.
Right? Because they came from an environment that it was parental control of the government.
It's
and they knew
matriarch.
Yeah, they knew that there was nothing more important than breaking away from that control. That freedom trumped all else, right? Because with freedom of expression, freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, freedom of opportunity, that would unlock and trump anything else that mattered,
Trump.
right? I know.
You said Trump 3 times. It's like you're subliminally trying to do that.
Well, I would say DeSantis, but that's not a typical word that people use.
It would DeSantis the situation.
Right.
I mean,
we're going to put down the DeSantis card for this one.
I would be actually in favor of that. I think he's primed for that. But, oh, man, I guess we could have a whole nother podcast on, you know, the upcoming elections, and we're going to get there. We're still a year out from the chaos. So stick with us. Maybe we'll, you know, catch that one in about a year. In the meantime, you know, we talk about freedom and wanting to travel and doing all these things. I'm literally I'm so just disgusted at a situation that has become mainstream. And I don't know if you've been following it, Chad, but it's all over the news. It's this Gabby Petito gal, and man, what a mess. And today they found they found her body a couple days ago. They did the autopsy today and have confirmed that it was a homicide. And now the fiance is nowhere to be found. He has fled. He's in hiding. For all I know, he took his life. But man, holy cow. What do you think about all this?
So how did all of this start? Because she was like reported missing.
So it started with the two of them were going to go across the country, and travel and kind of document. And that's like the kind of weird era that we're in right now. We've got like these people who, want to be influencers and like they want to document their travels and then have people watch them. And I guess she was making like a travel YouTube channel, either YouTube or TikTok or something like that. And social media, Instagram stories. And so they're traveling across the country. They get out west, and to some of the national parks. They're getting in fights. They're with each other. There's domestic abuse. End up, having police pull them over at one point and kind of.
Is this all like recorded and documented as a part of their journey?
Dude, actually, they released the body cam footage going full circle on our whole show here of the police have body cam footage of the two of them. And it appears like she's the crazy one, like that she's attacking him and doing all this stuff. And you just know better. I know. I've been in relationships. I know.
We're going to see this on the Oxygen channel soon.
I mean, it's all over CNN.
The ID channel.
I mean, a lot of people jumped on it. So what was interesting is, I think, a lot of people go, well, why follow this one? Why, people go missing all the time, or there's things that go on. Well, yes, but there were so many people who love those shows, who love, the whodunit shows. And this had a lot of video content where you could see the progression of their trip and see some issues and cracks in the armor and the way he would talk to her. And then like she had, just some issues, and so people are like, what's going on here? And then she's texting her mom, and then it appears that at some point he took over her phone and basically was impersonating her, and so I just think it's really, really interesting that this is now turned into almost a domestic abuse situation that has led to some very deadly consequences. We just got to know what happened. So I want to ask you, what do you think happened?
To be honest, I have not followed it at all. I may be taking a very offensive and insensitive point of view on this, but I'm really having a hard time trying to understand, some of these things that get pushed out in the media like this. Because I oftentimes see that, in conversations, I hear people start to talk about things like, well, what if it was your daughter? What if it was your son? Right? What if it was your family? Well, that's just fear. It's just putting fear into people. And that keeps people from, not to go this route with it, not to be cliche or anything, but it just keeps people from worrying more about their safety instead of their liberty, right? And I just, that's why I don't follow a lot of these things. That's why I don't know about a lot of these things, because I see the stories, I just keep scrolling on. That's terrible that happened, and I don't wish that upon anyone, because I don't think anyone should have to fall into that. But with that, I think to myself, I got my own life to live, and I don't want to be sucked up into this fear-driven media push, right? And it comes from both sides of the aisle. There's not like this is not a right versus left thing.
No, and I mean, I think that's where a lot of people can actually get some unity. That this, it was her fiance, so I mean, they were planning on getting married. For what it's worth, so working through their issues. They are awfully young. I don't know what their ages were, but I do actually try to think of it like from the parents' standpoint. So you've got the parents of the daughter that are like, what in the world is going on? Our daughter is traveling across the country. I mean, obviously they're in their 20s or something like that. So your kids are growing up and they're on their own. But then, I mean, I think that's the worst part about being a parent is wondering if my kid's going to grow up and then end up in a situation where she ends up in a relationship and the guy doesn't take, or treat her the right way. People cover things up. People they put up their own fences. They portray things the way they want to see them. And it's just, you wonder how rampant this is. And do you think that this stuff is a little bit more prevalent because for the last 18 months, all of our liberties have been under attack and people have had enough and they're cracking, and like, you don't want to see things like this happen. But when you add everything up and look at, from the crazy political situation to the fear mongering that goes on with, and the guilt trips that go along with COVID and must take care of your neighbor, whether or not we do or not. I don't know, man. I just think that people are on the verge of cracking. And I literally posted today on Facebook. I posted something like, dude, we're in the Matrix. I've never more felt like this is just some sophisticated programming to keep people all in line. We're going to roll out another story. We're going to do this. And it's constantly moving from one side to the other to just keep people in line. And I posted, I said, I'm not Neo. I'm not even pretending to be or even suggesting that I'm even the one. But I definitely relate to feeling like him. You know that part in The Matrix, the first one? Of course, the first one. Where he takes the red pill. And then he's like, what's going on? He touches the mirror and it's like, and then he it's like swallowing him like he's about to drown. The metal is like going down his throat. He's like, what's happening? And everything's distorting around him. And he's coming up out of his slumber, figuring out what's going on. And man, more so than ever, I feel like we're in the Matrix. And there are people pulling strings, man.
Having a tough time listening to you tell that story, because all I can think about, I don't know if it's me or if Matt, you were hearing that too. As soon as you started talking about the Matrix, your microphone was getting glitchy. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on?
What is even happening?
That was wild.
The glitch. That means they're changing something.
Oh, they're changing something in the Matrix. Here comes Agent Smith.
Mr. Anderson.
I love those movies. I can't wait to see how woke the Matrix 4 is.
It's going to be woke off the charts.
I know, man. I hope not, too, but
it just is.
There's going to be some woke stuff in there.
Well, my man, I think
another dollar.
We're going to have to wait until, what is that, December 21st?
I think so.
That'll be a Christmas gift.
We'll find out.
Be woke. Well, Mr. Walls, Commander Walls, all I have to say is go in grace. Blessed day.
Commander Dayton, Mr. Producer, found the quote for us. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Deserve neither liberty nor safety.
I'll take my liberty.
Give me liberty or give me death.
Peace be with you.